Today, Intel's new CPU breaks records, bad news for Windows 11 users, Intel's Arc GPUs are way better than anyone thought, and Ryzen 7000 is absolutely insane. Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. First up for today, Intel's 12900KS has only been out for a day, yet world records are already being broken. For starters, overclocker Shimizu was able to get the new CPU up to an impressive 7.5 GHz. Of course, he used liquid nitrogen and he had to disable most of the cores to get this, but anything over 7 GHz is impressive to say the least. When it comes to actual performance, overclocker Splave was able to take the crown in multiple benchmarks, like the single-core Cinebench R23 at 7.2 GHz, Geekbench 4 multi-core while at 7 GHz, and more. Of course, it's still early days for the new CPU, but it clearly has a ton of headroom for overclocks, at least with the right cooling. But first, I've got a huge announcement to make. If you've been following the PC hardware industry for any amount of time, you know how hard it can be to keep up with all the announcements and release dates. There's always something right around the corner to where even the big releases can get confusing. Well, today I'm announcing the GamerMeld Notification Squad, and it's basically a way to remove all the clutter. Once you sign up, I'll send you notifications when new CPUs, GPUs, and other big hardware get announced with the release dates, as well as a notification when they actually release. I hope to let you know right when it happens so you can be one of the first to buy. And while it is via email, don't worry, I'm only going to send you important stuff. I'm not going to be spamming you with useless emails. So don't wait and be the first in line for new releases by visiting the link in the description below. Next up for today, if you've been running Windows 11, I have some bad news. Microsoft's VP of OS Security and Enterprise, David Weston, discussed a future release of Windows 11 that has some, quote, significant security updates that add even more protection from the chip to the cloud. One of those features is called Smart App Control, and it's similar to a feature in Edge, but for your entire PC. Basically, it looks for apps on your PC that are potentially harmful or unwanted. That's obviously good news, until you get to the part where you install it. According to Mr. Westing, quote, devices running previous versions of Windows 11 will have to be reset and have a clean installation of Windows 11 to take advantage of this feature. Meaning if you decided to upgrade to the new OS, which needed specific hardware just for security features, you can't get them without reinstalling the entire OS. If you purchase a PC with Windows 11 already installed, it should come with Smart App Control already, but everyone who made the upgrade will have to reset everything. Next up for today, Intel's Arc GPUs are way more powerful than anyone thought. During an interview by Hot Hardware with Intel's Tom Peterson, they discussed the launch of Intel's Alchemist GPUs. Specifically, he went over what Intel means when they say graphics clock, and it's pretty interesting. To get the graphics clock, Intel looked at a big collection of chips and took the average clock of the worst chip in the worst thermal environment. As an example, he looked at the A370M, and that 1550 MHz is for the lower 35 watts. But it also depends on the workload. For example, he said that in lighter games like Counter-Strike, you'll see well above 2 GHz often, meaning the leaks claiming 2 GHz plus for Intel's desktop parts are likely spot on. I mean, the fact that even mobile parts can get in the 2 GHz range according to Peterson is already a huge deal. Now imagine how high their desktop GPUs can get. This makes me excited to see what kind of headroom we may get for overclocking. Not only that, but video cards noticed something pretty interesting during the interview. Towards the end of the video, he teases what looks like a prototype board before pulling it back and saying that he can't show us. Well, he did actually show us a couple things. For one, we can see that it has a PCI Express interface, so it's likely a desktop card. But the really interesting part is that it shows 3 8-pin connectors, and given it doesn't look anything like the engineering boards we've seen for Alchemist so far, this could be a next-gen GPU. Remember that Battlemage is targeting enthusiasts, so it would make sense that it needs more power. We obviously can't say for sure, but it's almost definitely an Arc GPU. All I can say is that I'm definitely getting excited. And lastly for today, AMD's Ryzen 7000 CPUs are looking to be absolutely incredible. In a new video from Red Gaming Tech, he goes over some really interesting leaks from his sources. For starters, he claims that AMD's Ryzen 7000 desktop engineering samples are currently getting around 5.1 to 5.2 GHz single-core clock with 5 GHz all-core clocks, but apparently they can get up to a whopping 5.3 GHz. Now, he did say that it needs some pretty intense cooling, but don't forget that these are engineering samples, so things could get even better. Not only that, but apparently AMD's Rembrandt or Ryzen 6000 APUs are coming to desktop, and according to his source, the iGPUs are quote highly overclockable, and the big news doesn't stop there. But before I get to that, there's actually some really good news on socket compatibility for Ryzen 7000. In a new FAQ from Noctua, they claim that all of their AM4 coolers are socket compatible with AM5 except for these two. So if you already have a Noctua cooler, unless it's these two, you should be good for next gen. Now, moving back to Red Gaming Tech, he also went over Ryzen 7000 Mobile, and here things get really interesting. According to him, the 7980HX is set to be a 16-core CPU, with the 7900HX being a 12-core part, meaning AMD is set to bring their massive high core count CPUs to their mobile lineup. He's also hearing that CLOCKS will actually be close to desktop, meaning if all of this is true, AMD's Ryzen 7000 CPUs could be one of the biggest performance boosts we've seen in a while. This year really could be great for PCs. So while that does it for today, are you pumped for Ryzen 7000 or are you still waiting for desktop ARC GPUs? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please subscribe. And as always, have a great day.